Before we begin our class on the Mahabharata, today is a special holy day where we remember and commemorate three festivals: the Gundicha Marjana, the disappearance of Sri Gadadhara Pandit, and the disappearance of Srila Bhaktivinode Thakur. I will accomplish my Mahatmyam by quoting from Srila Prabhupada's books. All glories to the ISKCON founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Sri Gadadhara. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows: the description of Lord Chaitanya as the gardener and the tree is inconceivable. Now hear with attention about the branches of this tree. The associates of Lord Chaitanya were many, but none of them should be considered lower or higher, for this cannot be ascertained. And all the great personalities in the line of Lord Chaitanya enumerated these devotees, but they could not distinguish between the greater and the lesser. I offer my obeisances unto them as a token of respect, and I request them not to consider my offenses. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Premarmaratsaro Priyan Shakha Rupan Bhakta Ganan Krishna Prema Phala Pradhan. I offer my obeisances to all the dear devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the eternal tree of love of Godhead. I offer my respects to all the branches of the tree, the devotees of the Lord, who distribute the fruit of love of Krishna. The fourth branch of the Chaitanya tree was Gadadhara Pandit, and he is described as an incarnation of the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. No one, therefore, can equal him. Guru Mukha Padmavakya. According to the most authorized book, Gaura Gunodesha Dipaka, it is stated that Sri Krishna's pleasure potency, formerly known as Vrindavaneshwari, is now personified in the form of Sri Gadadhara Pandit in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has pointed out that in the shape of Lakshmi, the pleasure potency of Krishna, she was formerly very dear to the Lord as Shyama Sundara Vallabha. That same Shyama Sundar Vallabha is now present in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as Gadadhar Pandit. Formerly as Lalita Shaki, she was always devoted to Srimati Radharani. Thus, Gadadhar Pandit is simultaneously an incarnation of Radharani and Lalita Shaki. And in the 12th chapter of this Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a description of the descendants or disciplic succession of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also says this in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the beginning of this book, I discussed the truth about Guru Tattva, the truth about the spiritual master. Now, in this 7th chapter, I shall try to explain the Pancha Tattva. Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. The absolute truth comprehending the 5 transcendental subject matters is known as the Panchatattva. Lord Krishna appeared as Bhakta Rupa, as Lord Chaitanya in the form of a devotee. Balaram appeared as the expansion of a devotee in the form of Lord Nityananda, Swarupakam. Mahavishnu appeared as Bhakta Avataram, the incarnation of a devotee in the form of Advaita Acharya. The term Bhakta Shaktikam refers to the spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord, who appeared as Gadadhara. And finally, Narada Muni appeared as the Bhakta Akyam, simply known as a devotee, in the form of Srivas Thakur. Altogether, these 5 personalities are referred to as Sri Panchatattva. Srila Prabhupada comments, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by his plenary expansion, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. He is accompanied always by his incarnation, Sri Advaita Prabhu. He is always accompanied by his internal potency, Sri Gadadhara Prabhu, and he is always accompanied by his marginal potency, Srivas Prabhu. And Lord Chaitanya is in the midst of all of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. And one should know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Therefore, our obeisances to Lord Chaitanya are complete when we say the Panchatattva Mahamantra. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So, as preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva Mahamantra. Then we say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but these offenses are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva Mahamantra. Lord Chaitanya is known as Mahavadanya Avatar, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls. Thus, to derive the full benefit of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, one should learn the Panchatattva Mahamantra and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, for that will be very effective. Shri Gundicha Mandiram Atma Vrindai Sam Marjayang Shalananta Sa Gaura Swa Chittavach Chitalang Udvalang Cha Krishno Paveshao Payikang Chakara. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami composed this verse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the Gundicha temple with his devotees and associates. In this way, Lord Chaitanya made it as cool and bright as his own heart, and thus Gauranga made the temple a befitting place for Lord Sri Krishna to sit. Srila Prabhupada comments, the Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of Ratha Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. And after 1 week, he returns to his original temple. In commenting on the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Lord Chaitanya, as the world Acharya or teacher, is personally giving instructions on how we should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within our cleansed and pacified hearts. If one actually wants to see Krishna seated in one's heart, we must first cleanse the heart as prescribed by Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshashtak, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. For in this age, the age of Kali, everyone's heart is especially unclean, as confirmed in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Hridi Anta Sto Hi Abhadrani. To wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Lord Chaitanya advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And the first result will be that the heart is cleansed, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this statement by the words of Sutta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtanaha Hridiyanta Stho Hi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is the Paramatma Supersoul in everyone's heart, and who is the benefactor of the honest, truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse the heart, one must chant and hear the glories of the Lord. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because Krishna is already seated there. And Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and so Krishna also wants to give directions. But one has to keep the heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya kept the Gundicha temple. The devotee, therefore, has to cleanse one's heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, or in other words, anya bilasha purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, the mystic yoga system, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed without ulterior motive. There should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, fruitive activity, severe austerity, penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth of spontaneous love of God. As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean, and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. For we cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our hearts unless our hearts are fully cleansed. So, by his practical example, Lord Chaitanya has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. And Lord Chaitanya also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kutinati, fault-finding, or else pratishtasha, the desire for name and fame and for high position, jiva hingsa, envy of other living entities, nisiddhachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, kama, desire for material gain, and puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratishtasha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. But one's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. No, these are all material desires, and especially the neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. And in this way, the heart is once again filled up with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or even a avatar incarnation. The word jiva hingsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as pada upakara, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with Mayavadis, one is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic. But all of this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulative principles strictly and not desire any kind of illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, or meat. In order to give us practical instructions, Lord Chaitanya cleansed the temple twice, and his second cleansing was more thorough. The idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple with firm conviction, as is evident from his using his own personal garments for cleansing the altar of Lord Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to personally see that the temple was thoroughly cleansed to the standard of clean marble. Clean marble gives a cooling effect. Devotional service means attaining peace from all disturbances caused by material contamination. In other words, devotional service is the process by which the mind is cooled. The mind can be peaceful and thoroughly cleansed when one no longer desires anything but devotional service. Srila Bhaktivinode Thakur. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sachidananda Bhaktivinode, who is the transcendental energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a strict follower of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, headed by Srila Rupa. Thakur Bhaktivinode led a life of incessant labor and activity for Krishna. He effected such immense good in the world that his work is only to be compared with the unbounded works of Lord Chaitanya himself and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. It was the spiritual attempts and divine writings of Bhaktivinode Thakur that turned the scale and led the intelligent and educated community to believe in the noble precepts and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. During his stay at Jagannath Puri, Thakur Bhaktivinode devoted much of his time to the discussion of spiritual works, and he prepared notes on the Vedanta Sutras, which were published with commentaries of Baladev Vidyabhushan. Bhaktivinode also composed his Kalyana Kalpataru. This may very truly be termed an immortal work, and it stands on the same level as the divine writings of Narottam Das Thakur. In 1877, he left Jagannath Puri on government service, and in 1881, he started a well-known spiritual journal called the Sajjanatoshani, or the Satisfaction of Pure Devotees. Bhaktivinode also published the Sri Krishna Samhita, which revealed to the world the underlying philosophy, explaining the very nature of Krishna's spiritual existence. This book opened the eyes of educated people, teaching them their true relationship with God. It also attracted the admiration of many German scholars, for although the public in general regarded Krishna as some kind of poetic creation of erotic nature, Bhaktivinode revealed Krishna as the Para Brahman, the supreme transcendental person, the absolute being, all on the basis of Vedic evidence. Thakur Bhaktivinode also published a unique work entitled Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, the Nectarian Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which dealt with Lord Chaitanya's theistic philosophy and the philosophies of Western speculators. This book defeats every other philosophy point for point and establishes the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya as supreme. Bhaktivinode Thakur was so anxious to see the land of Lord Chaitanya that he applied many times for a transfer to any town nearby. Upon not receiving the desired transfer, he formally submitted his resignation from public service, but it was refused. Then, to his great rejoicing, he obtained a transfer to Krishna Nagar, 25 miles from Navadvip Mayapur. And once stationed at a place near Navadvip, Bhaktivinode did not let a single free moment pass without visiting the land of Navadvip. He at once made inquiries about the exact whereabouts of the different places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He soon discovered that the then city of Navadvip was a town of only 100 years standing, so he was curious to locate the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. He was convinced that the town of Navadvip was not the authentic location, and so he at once commenced a vigorous inquiry to find the truth of the matter. But he could not easily escape from the people who tried to make him believe that Navadvip was the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then, after careful inquiry, he was told that the site was lost under the shifting course of the Ganga. But not being satisfied with this explanation, he himself set out to discover the Yogapitha, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. After great difficulties, he came to know of a place which was being adored by many realized souls as the true birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and which was then in the possession of Muhammadans. Local inquiry and corroborative evidence from ancient maps taken from the later part of the 18th century, which showed the name Sri Mayapur, and that at last helped him to discover the real site of Mahaprabhu's birthplace. The discovery led to the publication of a valuable work called Navadvip Dhama Mahatmyam. The year 1895 was the most eventful year in the history of the Vaishnava world, and Bhaktivinode Thakur was the prime mover of these events, for it was in this year that Bhaktivinode officially memorialized the birth site of Lord Chaitanya and brought its true identity and importance before the public eye. Thousands of visitors were present at a function held at the spot. The more the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna were preached, the merrier was Thakur Bhaktivinode. He thereafter made annotations of Sri Brahma Samhita and Sri Krishna Karnamrita, and gave to the world his immortal and precious works, Sri Harinam Chintamani and Bhajana Rahasya. He also edited, with commentary, Srimad Bhagavataraka Marichi Mala, which contains all the most important shlokas of the Bhagavatam pertaining to Vaishnava philosophy. His pen never tired, and it produced many other Vaishnava philosophical works. He would begin his writings very late at night, after completing his government work, and he would stay up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, composing songs and literatures. Most of his works appeared in the Sajjana Toshani magazine. He was equally engaged in writing and in preaching the holy name of Krishna in many districts of Bengal. His personal appearances at villages had marvelous effects on the people. To maintain the center at Nadia, he built a house at Sri Godrumadweep, which is called Sri Swananda Sukhada Kunj. Here in this abode, the preaching of Harinam continued in full swing. And so it was at the beginning of the 20th century that Bhaktivinode chose to live at Jagannath Puri, and he built a house on a beachfront. Many honest souls would seek his blessings and readily obtained them when he accepted the renounced order of life by taking Babaji initiation from Srila Gaurakishore Das Babaji in 1908. And though he was leading the life of a renounced soul, he could not avoid the men of all descriptions who constantly visited him. All of them received oceans of spiritual training, instructions, and blessings. Then, in 1910, he shut himself up and remained in a perfect state of samadhi, or full concentration on the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In 1914, he passed on to the blissful realm of Goloka on the day which is observed as the disappearance of Sri Gadadhara Pandit Prabhu. Herein we quote a stanza written about the samadhi of Haridas Thakur, which Bhaktivinode wrote sometime in 1871 to explain what influence the Vaishnava carries in this world even after his departure. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and while living, try to spread the holy name around. And it was Srila Bhaktivinode who predicted, soon there will appear a personality who will preach the holy name of Hari all over the world. No doubt, it is clearly understood that His Divine Grace, the ISKCON founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is that personality. I offer my prostrated obeisances, first unto all the devotees who have surrendered unto His divine lotus feet, and next unto the devotees who will in the future take shelter of Prabhupada's lotus feet. And then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada again and again. Composed by Achyutananda Swami, dated August 20th, 1972, the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami while staying at the Radha Damodar temple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat.